Welcome back to Orangeline. Now we're going to send it to Devin Wilson, who has a story about the boys in Irwin and their concerns about their living situation.
Elijah Tyree was one in a handful of students who was expecting to stay in Irwin Hall another semester this fall. However, an unexpected email changed him and his group of friends' plans.
Not at first. I planned on moving into apartments with a couple other people, but that didn't plan out as well. So then I planned on staying here because I already said that we could stay here next year as long as we get the application for coming back. But then we got an email saying that males cannot stay in Irwin next year, so that didn't quite work out as well.
Because so many guys in Irwin enjoyed their experience, many approached RA Brette Myers asking to stay in the same rooms next fall.
I received the information the same time that, or maybe a day before my guys received the information. So, and I was a little upset for them because I knew what that meant. That meant that they lost the apartment, like the time to get the apartment application in. So I felt kind of bad.
Myers says that she felt bad for the guys' situation and the deadlines they missed for the housing options.
Coming back to the hall, I had several ask me if they could stay in the same room because they were inquiring about the apartments, but when I said that they could live in that hall, or that's the information I had gotten, they were like, okay, we'll live here and not the apartments.
The Irwin boys were given the two options for next fall, Gessner or the LLC. Tyree says he was in a bit of a bind when he first found out the news, but realized he has many reliable options for next year.
It did for a second, like a quick second, but then I realized Gessner, LLC. Gessner, LLC. It wasn't that hard of a decision, so I decided to stay in the LLC next year.
Associate Dean of Students Teresa Clounch explains that the Irwin men will have an advantage in the upcoming housing lottery due to the sudden change of plans.
Well, what we did with the process as far as assigning for next year, we have the apartment process that takes place, and now the residency requirement exemption, and then we're getting ready for the housing lottery at the end of March. And so we sent out an email at the beginning of March letting the young men know that are living in Irwin that we're looking at trying to free up space so we have flexibility in assignment for next year. And so an email was sent out to all of them indicating that during the housing lottery, after the seniors and the juniors choose their space, then they would be the first group to be able to choose a space for next year because they won't be able to do the same room, same hall sign up. And so therefore we want to give them just a little bit of a benefit because of the assignment that we're not allowing them to have for next year.
The housing lottery will take place at 8 p.m. March 31st in the Union Dining Room. This has been Devin Wilson, KNBU TV.
Thanks for that, Devin. Now, Reina Murphy has a story about faculty member and student Kathy Wilson.
Kathy Wilson is the administrative assistant for the Student Academic Services. She has many responsibilities for her job each day when she arrives on campus. But she also has many assignments and work due for the 2 classes she is taking this semester. With her job, classes, and family, Kathy has to balance everything out.
It's a challenge. It can be challenging. I have a lot of support, and I would say my husband's my biggest supporter, in that he's very understanding when he knows there's a big project coming due, that type of thing. I have to be very organized.
Kathy started her college education at KU before she started her family. She always knew she wanted to come back to school and finish her degree later in life. Kathy is very focused on her classes and finishing her degree in the future.
I'm probably 3/4 of the way done, and so how odd is that to say 3/4 of the way? But for me, taking 2 classes a semester, it seems like I'm at a turtle's pace. And so one of the things that keeps me focused and motivated is not necessarily looking at the end yet, because for me, since this is a slower pace, when I think about the end, it might not be for several years from now, but I'm getting there. I'm running the race. That's what's important.
Kathy is a communications major and hoping to minor in psychology. When she receives her degree, she has many goals for the future.
I like the conflict management aspect of the communications degree, and I'm also thinking that I have enough hours to be have a psych minor, and so some sort of a counseling, conflict management. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to fuse those, but that's my interest. I really am hoping that I can use both of those skills in some way in the future.
Best of luck to Kathy and her classes this semester. I'm Reina Murphy reporting for KNBU TV.
Thanks for that, Reina. Now we have our weekly sports chat with Patrick Mirch and Chris Atlaxon, who are in Mabee Gym.
Thanks, Kelsey, and welcome to this week's edition of Sports Chat. We're here in the cage in Mabee Gym. I'm Patrick Mirch.
And I'm Chris Atlaxon.
Let's get started with little Baker basketball. In Liberty this weekend, the girls lost 73-59 to conference foe William Newell in the semifinals of the tournament. The loss marks the second time this season that Baker has fallen to William Jewell after a 66-52 loss back on February 18th in Baldwin. Baker struggled with its offense throughout the game as the Wildcats made just 23 of 55 field goal attempts, and turnovers also killed them with having a season-high 26. Emily Gibson and Aubrey Gustin led the way for Baker in scoring, with Gibson having 16 and Gustin having 11. However, a bright note for Baker is that next year for the 2010-2011 season, they will be returning all 5 starters along with most of their reserves. Now let's move on to some Baker baseball. This past weekend, Baker played Mount Mercy in a weekend doubleheader on both Saturday and Sunday. In the first game on Saturday, Baker came back from 5 runs down to grab its second win of the 2010 campaign. Senior Nick Peterson led the way offensively, going 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs and a double. The Wildcats scored 7 runs in the bottom of the 6th to ultimately seal the game. In the second game on Saturday, the Wildcats were never able to get anything going offensively. Sophomore Nathan Wheelock allowed 3 runs on 8 hits while walking 4 in the 4-1 loss. Now on Sunday, in the first game, Mount Mercy escaped with a victory. However, Steven Stewart led the Baker offense, going 3 for 4 from the plate with 1 RBI, and Dustin Mumau pitched 6 innings and gave up 4 runs on 3 hits. In the second game on Sunday, Baker picked up its 3rd win of the season as they beat Mount Mercy 3-2, with Bryce Daly leading the Wildcats offensively, going 1 for 3 from the plate and having 2 RBIs. Now, Chris, what can you tell us about the Baker softball team?
Well, they went up to Conway, Arkansas again for another 5-team invitational in Central Baptist University this past weekend, and they went 2-3 on the weekend. Baker's first game was against Mid-America Christian. Annie Hannon and Kata Worley both had solo home runs, but they ended up losing the game 8-7. Game 2 was against Mid-Continent, where Baker was able to come out on top. In Game 3 against Macomb College, Brittany Vollenweider pitched a complete shutout as Baker went on to win its second game. Kelsey Iverson led the game offensively, going 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs to get the victory. Its fourth game against Rogers State, they scored 6 runs in the first inning, putting the Wildcats in a hole from which they could not recover, and they ended up losing. Baker against Central Baptist was the last game, and the lack of offense put the Wildcats down, and Central Baptist had back-to-back innings of 3 runs to make the 7-0 victory. But Brooke Allen led the team offensively with 2 for 3 at the plate.
Okay, now, Chris, what can you tell us about the Baker tennis team?
Well, the tennis team, men and women, were both here this past weekend. The men played Friends University and won, and now are undefeated on the season with 1-0 record. Girls, who are ranked number 2 in the HAT conference, were able to come away with 2 wins against Morningside and Friends University.
Well, it sounds like the Baker tennis team has gotten off to a good start, and the softball and baseball teams have gotten their season underway, so we wish them the best of luck. And for next time, I'm Patrick Mirch.
And I'm Chris Atlaxon.
Thanks for that, guys. And that's it for this week's episode of Orangeline. We'll see you after spring break for a new episode. I'm Kelsey Epperson. Have a great spring break, and we'll see you then.